At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
What's up, ADOS and our allies? Hey, good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the Central. Good evening on the East Coast. You know who it is. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Friends of ADOS TV channel, bringing you those ADOS hot topics. Angela Nirvana presents the way I see it. Making the case for reparations, always on this show, family, until they cut the check. What? In the trillions over multi-generations. That's right. And making the case undecided for that democratic down ballot strategy. Yes, family. I went out to vote today. I'm so excited, family, to go and cast my protest vote like I've been educating you guys or sharing with you guys as an option. I did it, and it felt so liberating to give the middle finger to the Democrats and the Republicans this election cycle by voting green at the top of that ticket, and Democratic down ballot, the most progressive I could find. Shout out to ADOS LA, who put together a wonderful voter guide, right? I mean, they went all the way down. Erie Blackfire, I saw you over at Dr. Amadou Shakur's show. I'm so glad you support New Black Media. Thank you for joining the live. I love her too. She is fire, isn't she, family? What's up, Mike Michelson? Thank you for joining the live. Lafayette Ward, thank you for joining the live. Deborah Burrow, thank you for joining the live. Robin, the girl wonder, thank you so much, family, for joining me. I so appreciate your presence. Follow in. Yes, family, we got an exciting show for you tonight. As always, I'm going to do my best not to scream. My daughter says I scream the same things at you guys every show. I hope you learned at least one takeaway, one nugget every show. I really hope that's happening for you, because it's sure enough happening for me. Light bulb after light bulb as I speak with my family, my tribe. I'm so proud to be amongst you guys in this moment of history. This is our civil rights moment. It's second wave. We in the ADOS movement are coming back to finish the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His last 3 years on the planet was about economic justice. He was coming to Washington during the People's March, the Poor People's March, to collect that check. And so they did what they always do to our strong, assassinate us. Well, the beauty of the ADOS movement is we are all throughout the country. They can't kill all of us. That's how I feel about it. And we are amongst some of the most educated, some of the most progressive comrades in this movement. I am so excited to be amongst you. We are making history. We are making the ancestors proud, and we are making our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren proud in this moment, family. Stand down and stand strong. But like I was saying, I went and cast my protest vote. And at first, it was looking like it was going to be some nonsense. Okay, over at the Museum of the Latin America Art, they said that they were taking early votes from 10 to 7. And of course, I get over there, and that's not the case. Now, I was trying to do this as I was headed to the beach for my workout, just trying to be real systematic about my morning. You know how you try to line it up in your head. Okay, I'm early voting because, family, out here in California, it took me 3.5 hours to vote during the primary. And I ain't got time for that during a pandemic. So I got myself together and I said, today is the day. Shout out to ADOS LA. They actually sent me the voter registration guide, and they had beautifully thought everything out on all the measures, the propositions, the people running for office all throughout LA County. I was so ecstatic to have that guide to make sure it aligned with the way I was intending to vote. It was just excellent to have that from the ADOS movement versus, say, Bernie Sanders people or the People's Party. Like, it is amazing when you get that work done by your very own, and it aligns seamlessly. So shout out to them for that. I thank you. So I decided, well, let me get over to the convention center. Now I'm thinking, oh my God, the Museum of Latin American Art is very small and contained, but the convention center out here, I didn't know where to enter. I kept saying to myself, do I wait until tomorrow, which is Friday, and go and cast this early vote? Gambling in my mind, which is going to be the best solution for me. And Spirit said, Angela, just go try. You're already in the mindset to go and vote. Just go try to vote today before you work out. So I got to the convention center and I was aggravated, but I saw a brother and a sister coming out I finally found the entrance to where they vote. And I saw the brother and sister coming out, barreling down the steps. And I'm like, why are there cones across the parking structure? Like, for me, they really didn't do a good job of making this easy on the handicapped and the elderly. There were steps to go up, no parking nearby. You literally had to park off the site and walk. I said, Angela, there's no time to be political. You're here. And when I spoke to them and they said there was no line, that was my green light to find me a meter and get in there and do what I had to do. So I paid to park. And I walked in. It was beautifully laid out. They had all the computers. Everybody had their station. They're asking you questions about COVID. They've got masks. They've got bacteria lotions. They've got sanitizing cloths. They've got gloves if you want to use your gloves to punch in your stuff on the computers. It was laid and splayed, family. And there was no line. I was ecstatic that there was no line, family. I was over the moon thrilled about that. I got in and out within 15, 20 minutes tops, back in my car on my way to the workout. So I am so thrilled to have been able to vote for Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker, who were on the ballot out here. You can write them in other states where they've been kicked off. But make sure you know your Board of Election laws, because there's a couple of exceptions out there. I don't think any of us are in those states that are accepted, that are the exception. But please check your Board of Election laws before you write them in. But nothing thrilled me more than to vote for them at the top of that ticket and to get it right on all the measures, all the propositions, and the rest of my Democratic down ballot. I was over the moon thrilled to have that done and out of the way. So yes, family, thank you for joining the live. Let's get right into it because I don't want to detain you. Donna Michi, Donna Michelle, thank you so much for joining the live, my love. Justin Mathis, thank you for joining the live. I voted green both times too. Robin the Girl Wonder. Green and Democrat down ballot this year, though. Absolutely. We must deliver the most progressive Democratic Congress we can find down the ticket, because it is to protect the over 42% of ADOS who rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism. A trifecta of either party, it's going to be a struggle. Naturally, we'll work with what we've got. I, too, started protesting last election cycle. I voted green at the top and Democratic down ballot. So finding the tribe just, fell in line with the direction I went last election cycle. So it was seamless. Mike Michelson says, I got my absentee ballot, so all I had to do was drop it off at the polls. That's even better. That's even better if you could just do a drop-off and a drive-by. That is wonderful. You'll avoid the lines. I encourage and advise you to do anything but mail it. Out here, the mail has been crazy. It's taken up to a month sometime for me to receive my mail, as close as my sister, in New Mexico. Like, that's crazy to me. So don't mail it. Drive it through. Drop it off, as Mike Michelson did. Show up at the polls. Do early voting. Wear your mask, of course, stay protected, but get it in before you have to wait on anybody's line. Don't even attempt this on November 3rd. It's going to be a zoo. Trust me, from the primaries, I learned my lesson. But anywho, let's get on with the show. You guys are my co-hosts, so please feel free to chat. Type your comments and questions in the chat, and I'll get to you before I jump into story time. Okay, family? So first up, I've got to roast Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law. This fool had the unmitigated gall to tell the ADOS, whose ancestors built this country with their lives, that his father-in-law can only help us in as much as we want to help ourselves. We have to want to be successful. And Yvette Carnell, shout out to her. She did a powerful job unpacking this. And how ludicrous it is for someone who comes from, like she coined it, Daddy Warbuck dollars, to talk down to the very ADOS whose ancestors built the privilege he eats from. We are the legs of that table that he eats from. And he's got the unmitigated gall to suggest we somehow just don't want to be successful. I was mortified to read these kind of comments from this very white privileged, white supremacist Jew. Okay? It was atrocious that he is so privileged that he doesn't even know history. He clearly couldn't know history to have those words coming out of his mouth. And Yvette shared about how his father paid for his Ivy League education. You see, when they do these things, they get away with it, right? We've had Lori Loughlin and Felicity Hoffman. Lori, I can't think of the woman's last name, but they were caught up in the same scandal of paying for their privileged children to get in certain institutions, and they got slaps on the wrist. I think Lori was able to dictate to the courts, where she wanted to do her 2 weeks or whatever it was. Like she was picking resorts to go and luxuriate. She got to choose where she was going to do her minimal time for having paid off people within her daughter's institution to get her in there. The girl didn't have to jump through hoops with any SAT or ACTs or she didn't have to do anything extra. She didn't have to be smart. She didn't have to be smarter than the next white person. None of that. She was just able to step right into her own privilege because she comes from white folks who share 100 trillion household dollars to ADOS less than 700 billion since COVID. They share more than 100 trillion since COVID. We share less than 700 billion since COVID. So from the resources of her very privileged, wealthy family that stole all the wealth from ADOS, she was able to buy her daughter's entry into this college. Both of them, Felicity and Lori, actresses, okay, that are making a grip. Of course, they're making a grip on top of grips because they've got husbands that make grips. And they've got husbands in high positions that steal. They just steal. I mean, let's look at what just happened with COVID, how the stock market was propped up while over 60 million people have lost their jobs. And you know, when white folks catch cold, ADOS catches COVID. So they're able, from all this privilege that was stolen, to buy their children esteem and position. Unakin to the Black mother who was arrested for just using, she's doing 5 years because she used her father's address to get her child into a more privileged public school in her area because she knew that where she lived, they weren't educating her children. The courts threw the book at her. They threw the book at her while allowing Lori to choose where she was going to luxuriate in, white collar prison for 2 weeks to 2 months. I don't even really know what it was, but it was abominable that you would throw the book at a mother who used her own father's address to get her son into a more prestigious public school, not private school. She didn't pay off anybody. She used her father's address to get her child a better education than the address due to the theft of white folks that she is forced to live in. Okay? So she gets 5 years for using her father's address. And these women get away with paying off everyone to get their children into the privileged institutions. Okay? So here we've got Jerry. What's up, Adrian? Thank you for joining live. Here we have Jared Kushner, who has the unmitigated gall to speak down to the ADOS as if he is clueless about the slavery, the most heinous of its kind, chattel slavery in the born world, that he is privileged to eat from, that table that we are still in 2020 the legs of. It's been over 400 years. Someone stated we've been over here enslaved for like 500 something odd years because the Spanish owned us as slaves first, okay? Slavery didn't start with the Europeans. It started with the Spaniards. So I have to do some more digging in that. But we have been enslaved long before this country was even America, okay? He talked down to the ADOS like he is as dumb as a box of rocks that he exhibited in that comment that we have to want to be successful. He clearly doesn't know about our chattel slavery, how we were raped, how there were breeding farms when they stopped being able to import Africans. They just bred us. That's why we're so many different colors in this country. That's why we have so many different features. The Africa, you can hardly recognize it in many of us, because of the rapes, the breeding farms, all of that to keep slavery going. He clearly doesn't know about sharecropping, how even once we were emancipated, we were forced into labor into debtor's prison on these sharecropping plantations. Okay? You were supposed to sharecrop until you drop dead. It was never intended for you to work your way into anything. And then if you refused, you were thrown into convict leasing. So the very people you refused to work into your grave for, you were then leased out to these very people to work for them anyhow. Okay? They don't understand. He clearly doesn't get about the lynchings, the beatings, just all of the atrocities that we suffer from to this day. The post-traumatic slave syndrome is real. We are seeing it exhibited all throughout the country. Rest in paradise, Walter Wallace. Gone too soon. He had mental health issues. Those cops had been called for the third time that day and chose to annihilate him. We don't know if he was wielding a knife or not. We know he was executed and that he had mental health challenges. His family had called for an ambulance. So this country, America with 3 Ks, robs us of our wealth position by taking away the 40 acres and a mule that was granted to us by Lincoln, then taken away from us by Johnson. Okay, like we're robbed of our wealth. White folks continue every election cycle, no matter who's in office, to continue to rob us of our wealth. Then COVID renders us incomeless, and you don't expect mental health to be on the rise as a result of what the oppressive boot of this government, who is responsible for why we're tethered to the bottom, who is responsible for why we're at George Floyd 846. As Biden sits up here and wants to give $30 million more to the race soldiers over dismantling private prisons and decimating qualified immunity to hold these race soldiers accountable for the executions of poor Black. So, Jerry, we're made poor by the very government where you sit. And why is this important, family? Why am I talking about this? Because this man, rumor has it, is being earmarked to run for president. This ignorant man is earmarked to run for president. He's kind of next in line on the Republican side. So we need to be concerned about this, and I keep stressing it to you guys. If the Democrats get this top of the ticket, prepare to deal with worse than Trump the next election cycle. I keep telling you guys that there is a pecking order in this country, and Kamala does not fit that bill. She is Indian, Brahmin caste of privilege, and she is next in line for that presidential seat when Biden steps down in 2 years from Alzheimer's. Hillary Clinton's people poured money into Kamala's campaign. That's not the ADOS propping her up. As a matter of fact, she was 4th out here in California doing her own presidential run. Okay? So we clearly said we didn't want her. And then Tulsi Gabbard put a cherry on top of that. No, never. And Biden decides to march her right on in. Why? Because they are really gambling on getting a lot of Republicans who are aggravated with Trump to vote blue, because they are truly Republicans in Democratic clothing. That is who they are. Just look at all their policies and how they align. They work for capitalism. And so Kamala, they took a huge gamble knowing that she's not the pecking order. But why, family, do you think they took that gamble on Kamala? Because she is an enemy of the ADOS. She hates us. She has used us to get to where she is. Okay? She will use us, as do many immigrants. They will use us and disparage us all in the same breath. They will use our affirmative action to get their privilege in education and in wealth positions. But they do heinous things to us. Just look it up. Look up Kamala's record against the ADOS here in California. And be prepared to clutch your invisible pearls and be mortified. It is atrocious what she has done to the ADOS down here. And so this is why Joe Biden decided to cherry pick her. They had to put her away because she couldn't raise money and she couldn't get support once Tulsi exposed what we've been exposing in the social media spaces. Once Tulsi Gabbard did that, that finished her. She could no longer run for president. So they tucked her away and were able to bring her out, dust her off, and appeal to racist white folks because she is Cali's top cop, Kamala the Chameleon, waffling on every issue that matters while laughing like a hyena in the process. Just check out her recent 60-minute interview to see that. So this is the plan all along. Let's get Strom Thurmond's boy, Biden, who was not winning until Coon Clyburn got involved and did his bidding down in South Carolina. And then Coon Obama got involved and had everybody else fall on their sword to make space for Strom Thurmond's boy. And as we've been reading in Presidential, for those of you who have been following, you already know what time it is with this book and how even the ones that grew up in abolition, when it was time for that white vote, they turned on their abolitionist roots and became Confederates, no matter what side of the aisle they were on. Okay? So back to Jared. There's a couple things I want to share, and then I'm going to read this article that I haven't heard touched on. You've got to watch the Netflix Dirty Money series where they talk about Jared Kushner exposed as a slumlord. Okay, that's kind of the new information I'm going to impart because you may have heard about his father who got caught up in an election scandal. He was making donations, trying to buy elections in his son Jared's name. And when his sister threatened to come forward and testify against him, he set up her husband with a prostitute and taped it himself. He taped the sexual act between his sister's husband and the prostitute to try to blackmail her from testifying against him trying to buy off elections. That's the ilk that Jared Kushner is birthed through. Okay. Yvette already shared about how his father paid millions of dollars for his Ivy League education. So the boy is not bright at all. He just cleans up well in a suit and a tie. He even has a building in New York with a 666 on it. And to me, he looks like Damien from The Omen. Truthfully. He looks like the devil. And so when I tell you that it's going to get worse than Trump if the Democrats win this election cycle, just remember, you heard it here first with Angela Nirvana. over at Friends of ADOS TV. So this is the part that Dirty Money exposes, and I'm going to just get your libations, like Yvette says, get your libations. I'm going to read it to you. The most shocking discoveries about slumlord Jared Kushner and Netflix Dirty Money. Throughout his filmmaking career, documentarian Alex Gibney has made it his business to expose egregious abuse of power at the hands of the moneyed. From the corporate boardroom, Enron, the smartest guys in the room, to religions that behave like pyramid schemes, Going Clear, Scientology, and the Prison of Belief, and most recently to unbelievable medical hoaxes, The Inventor, Out for Blood in Silicon Valley, in Dirty Money, an ambitious Netflix docuseries for which Gibney serves as executive producer. The filmmaker takes aim at a corrupt landlord who has bewilderingly become one of the most powerful men in the world, Jared Kushner. The investor and real estate developer now serves as chief advisor to his father-in-law, President Donald J. Trump. But before he was the favorite child of our reigning megalomaniac in chief, Kushner was the head of Kushner Companies, the massive real estate company bequeathed to him by his father, Charles Kushner. The third episode in Dirty Money, Season 2, is titled Slumlord Millionaire. In it, one interview subject refers to Kushner Tier 1 predator. As the rest of the episode attempts to dissect exactly how Kushner may have used his position in the U.S. government to secure business deals for his private company. The episode premiered Wednesday, March 11, along with 6 other equally compelling one-hour investigations. For anyone who cares about government transparency, corruption, and housing rights, Slumlord Millionaire is well worth checking out. In the meantime, here are some of the most shocking revelations from the episode. Charles Kushner, I already told you all about this part, once hired a sex worker to frame and intimidate his brother-in-law out of testifying against him. Most people know Kushner's father went to federal prison for 14 months in 2005. Following an investigation led by then U.S. Attorney Chris Christie, Charles Kushner pled guilty to 18 counts of illegal campaign contributions, tax evasion, and witness tampering. What most people don't know, however, is the witnesses tampering charge came about because Charles Kushner hired a sex worker to seduce his brother-in-law, filmed the interaction, and had the tape sent to his sister, the man's wife. This was to keep them from testifying against him about the illegal campaign contributions that he put in his own son's name. You know how some parents use their children's credit and ruins their credit before they're out in the world. You know, like that, but worse. Kushner's rental properties have received hundreds of health code violations, including the presence of lead paint, lung carcinogens, and fire safety hazards. In many cases, New York City Housing Authority issued violations, but never followed up on collecting fine payments, much less to check whether or not Kushner companies fix the dangerous living conditions. In one case, a woman's ceiling collapsed directly over her bed, leaving brick and cement debris. She was not home at the time, but had she been in bed, she could have been severely injured or killed. Kushner Company sued a single mother for breaking her lease 3 years after she had received written permission to do so. She was ADOS. In 2010, a home healthcare worker named Camille Warren got written permission from the building's on-site manager to break her lease early after an elderly neighbor began behaving erratically. Kushner companies did not even own her property in 2010, but sued her for breaking her lease when it bought the property 3 years later. Unable to find the document proving she had permission to leave, Kushner companies got legal permission to clear out her bank account and garnish her wages. You got to see Dirty Money episode Slum Lord Millionaire. You've got to see that just to see what happened to this sister and her children. Watch that. Just for this alone is enough to make you want to go and strangle that white supremacist privileged Jew. It makes you want to go and strangle him, to sit up here in all of his arrogance and tell the ADOS that you have to want to be successful. To hell with the fact that about 60 of our Wall Streets have been burned down. We are clearly on the bottom. We are clearly executing each other. We are clearly stealing from each other because we just don't want to be successful. We have to want it. Moving on, Kushner companies did not have certificates of occupancy for many of its New York City rental buildings, and the government looked the other way. Do you get all this privilege when you do all this crime? No, because you don't have the complexion for the protection. A certificate of occupancy, or CO, must be obtained by the New York City Health Department, proving that a building is safe to live in. In many cases, Kushner companies was renting units to people to live in without obtaining COs, and the city looked the other way. It hasn't been proven why the city is so loose with Kushner companies, but Charles Kushner has donated to Governor Andrew Cuomo, and there are known emails between Kushner and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. Check it out, family. Dirty Money, Slumlord Millionaire, Season 2, Ep 3. You must check it out for yourself. And I'm here to tell you, this is what all of these politicians are doing. Welcome to the live. Oh my goodness, at 400years.org. Thank you, ADOS Truth, for joining the live. Black Outcast Media Broadcasting, thank you for joining the live. S. Wiseman, thank you for joining the live. Camille Gaynor Jones, Page the Third, I thank you. Beautiful ADOS and allies for joining the live. And for those of you who haven't chat your name and over here, I thank you too for joining the live. You're just in observation mode. That's fine. I'll take you any way I can get you. Okay, fam? So anywho, this is the likes of Jared Kushner, who had the unmitigated gall to come for the ADOS. They've been calling us lazy since we stopped working for free. Next up, I want to play, I don't want to take up too much time, but I do want to play for you a video that went viral of this incredible millennial that I am hopeful to have on my show. What she shared in this video at the Board of Police Commissioners meeting was sheer. She shut the comments down. This young, beautiful sister gave them the business, and I am on the search for her. I've got people who actually took my email address. They claim, what's up, Black Magic? Thank you for joining the live. Oh, Camille is heralding from ADOS New York. Thank you for joining the live. Give Tony Blunt and all of my New York ADOS family all my love over there. So this sister was cold to the bone. Her video went viral. And I just want to play it for you. What's up, ADOS Musa from Richmond? Hey, that's out here in Cali. Yes, ADOS Cali. Yes, I love it. Thank you for whoever, all of you, thank you for slinging bricks wherever you are. But I want to share with you about this sister because it was just fire. And I want to play this. It was in Kansas. Well, I don't know that I can play it, family. It's too long. I will share the link. That's what I will do. But I wanted to, yes. Please, yeah, oh, thank you. Long Island in his house. I love it. Mike, I didn't know you were in Long Island. All right, New York is everywhere. I love it. That's where I moved to LA from. After 9/11, I couldn't pucks with New York no more. Y'all doing too much. Too much in New York City. And I'm so much happier over here in the beach. It's just easy. Namye Ho Renge Kyo. So I'm looking for this sister. It's called Hero Speaks Truth to Power. Hold on, let me get you the name.
Hold up now.
She's over here. Hero Speaks Truth to Power at Kansas City Board of Police Commissioners meeting. She just made me proud. She sounds like a younger version of me. And so I will share that link, but you can easily look it up over at YouTube. Just put in Hero Speaks Truth to Power, and you'll be able to bring that link up. So shout out to that young sister. Anybody that know her name and knows how to put me in touch with her, I am open to it. I would love to have her on the show. She is our future, family. These millennials are our future, and we're going to do better by them. Okay, I heard a 16-year-old calling in on Yvette Show, dropping truth to power on Yvette Show at 16. My own daughter amazes me when she can run back things I've said or ask the right questions. I am thrilled about our future, but they will not have one if we get lazy like the boomers that preceded me. I'm in my 50s just now learning about a lot of things. That's a tragic shame that I didn't have a family active in politics so that we could be a lot farther along. I believe we would have been a lot farther along if folks hadn't gotten their little affirmative action and gone home in their pensions and their homes and just got comfortable. Not all boomers. Shout out to the boomers that are in this fight with us. I love y'all black and strong. Still doing it in your 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. You're still doing it. But we in the ADOS movement are going to be different. And we're going to embrace these young millennials, these young Gen Xers, the woke boomers, and spread this information and teach them about their ADOS-ness, why the distinction matters, and why this movement matters. Okay? We're going to put in that work and teach them so that they can go farther along than we are. Right, family? I love that part. Next up, I want to talk about how folks are always trying to make much ado about the people that preceded us. Now, she goes by KJ Brooks. Look at Robin, the girl wonder. Okay, so KJ Brooks, thank you, sister. If anybody is able to tell her that Angela Nirvana wants her on the show, I'm going to do my best to find her. But if you know where I can find her specifically, like is she Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I research them all. I need that sister and her energy on this show to keep us hopeful about the future and to maybe even convince her to run for office. Wouldn't that be grand? We do have the Equity Advocates PAC. We have a beautiful commercial for Tamara Johnson-Shealy. Check it out. Share. The election's not over to November 3rd. So I am still campaigning for Tamara Johnson-Shealy until, okay? But we do have the Equity Advocates PAC. You're free to give to that in whatever increments. It's about aggregating dollars so that we can be prepared in 2022 for the likes of a KJ Brooks to run for office. Yes, we need to to run her commercials, give her money towards her campaign, help her. That is what the Super PAC is designed to do. And it's visit Equity Advocates PAC in the Facebook. And then you want to visit equityadvpac.com for your donations. Okay, I'm on recurring. That's how much I believe in it. Yeah, let's get that going and get that money going right now so that we can replace the lames in session come 2022. No, you don't get to rest. The movie takes cat naps. You don't get to rest. Okay, you do have to continue to keep the pedal to the metal because we're just now waking up politically. Okay. And so it's time for everybody to get involved in whatever way you can in terms of donations. Also, you can still donate to Tamara Johnson Shealy at tamaraforgeorgia.com. She needs $700 to keep her ads running through into November 3rd. But anyway, KJ Brooks would be the type of person I would vet to see if she wants to run for office. She was fire, family. You must check it out. Next up. So many people want to talk about Kamala bailing out the HBCUs and erasing their student loan debt. And I beg the question, how many ADOS are even at the HBCUs? You see, you've got to be very careful of the tricks that are out here, family, where these Democrats and Republicans alike are pandering for your vote, making you think that they're actually doing something for you. I've already shared how Biden's Lift Every Voice but ADOS African American plan has minority in it 30 times and people of color in it 22 times. That means 0 to the ADOS. We don't even identify anymore as African American. Well, by and large, we do. So I can't, disparage them that like I want to, because we don't have ADOS as an ethnicity yet. We're working on it out here in California, and you guys know, as goes California, so goes the nation. So anywho, let me silence this phone. I've been asking, okay, y'all acting like this is such a big whoop-de-whoop that she's offering to erase student loan debt for the HBCUs. Are we even there? If we're only 16% of the degreed in this country, are we at the HBCUs? If we're only $200 liquid in California and $8 liquid in Boston and $11 liquid in Miami per the color of wealth, do we have the money to go to these HBCUs? Furthermore, I get that we need degrees. I get why they're important. But what jobs, what professions are they able to venture into once they spend 50 to 100 grand on their degrees through loans and things of this nature? Who's hiring? We are 44% of the degree down here and only 6% of the private sector. So whose student loan debt are you waiving? Who? It can't be ADOS. So my attorney friend out of New York shared an article with me that 50% of Howard's graduate students from the medical school are in fact Nigerian. Yeah. Now, when I tell you the stats for the color of wealth, LA, Boston, and Miami, it is based on the color of wealth from, say, 2005 to 2015. We don't even have current information. We don't even have numbers since COVID. So when you get people like Kamala talking about erasing student loan debt, this is another wealth transfer to white folks. I know they're Nigerian, but the color of whiteness in this country is green. You can be as dark as the night. When you have money, you've got privilege. You are white in this country. Okay? So they can be as black as the night. It matters not. That is a student loan debt she speaks of. And I've already shared with you that down here in LA, the African immigrants way back when, were $60,000 liquid to our $200 liquid. They come from a wealth position. They come from privilege. Many of them, Nigerians, descend from slave traders. And so this is the sleight of hand of the Democrats, to sit up here and act and pretend as if they're doing something for you, while doing something for Black immigrants who have the unmitigated gall to look down their nose at ADOS, calling us a kata. Not all. We've got some allies. I'm talking about the ones who call us a kata, who operate from privilege, who have the unmitigated gall to speak to us like a Jared Kushner, to pull ourselves up by our bootless straps when we are their reparations. Their ancestors didn't endure the chattel slavery they traded us into. And don't come over here talking about how they didn't know it was going to be as harsh as it was. I don't give a damn. They sold us. And now they come over here with money and privilege and disparage us. And then they take advantage of our affirmative action and have an East Indian Brahmin caste white woman with a very white husband and white children want to erase whatever student loan debt was not offset by the free money through the government through our affirmative actions that was intended to make us whole, that white women benefit first from as minorities, immigrants benefit from second, LGBTQIA benefit from third. There's nothing less by the time it gets to us. So all our children are left with is a mound of student loan debt and no careers to offset that debt. So you've got to learn to read between the lines when it comes to these stats out here. They don't even tell you. It's not even easy to find how many ADOS are at these HBCUs. I've got to reasonably deduce that we're not there by the fact that we're a wealthless now and incomeless group since COVID. I had to put that together with my brilliant mind because we are brilliant people. Yeah, my friend was able to tell me about the medical school graduates at Howard. I don't know how many of us are there because this country loves to flatten blackness. They love to put a decadent veil to make white America believe that we are doing as well as the Oprahs or the LeBrons or the Jordans or the Africans or the Caribbean. In Boston, the Caribbean have 12,000 in total assets to ADOS $700 total assets, and we $8 liquid. And we build all the wealth. And this is why ADOS needs its distinction. This is why this is my square. This is why I will be sounding the reparations alarm until I no longer have breath, until they cut the check in the trillions over multi-generations. This is why I'm Democratic down ballot, green top, until they cut those checks in the trillions over multi-generations. I am tired of Black ADOS, the lineage, and immigrant Black trying to act as if, well, you're just not pulling yourself up by your bootless straps. I did it. Look at me. All the while lying to us about how they were able to do it, how we were more in a social position to help each other. We're not down here at these hiring tables down in LA. I am blessed and fortunate to work for a predominantly Black-owned company. But for that, I too would be struggling to find work because I was struggling before this company hired me. So how dare you sit in your privilege and act like Black on Black crime and murder just happened by osmosis. One day we just woke up and lost our Black minds and decided to turn on each other. And you guys are running to the, not you guys, okay? If you rocking with me, you either on the fence or you down with that revolution, okay? Because not too many of them will ever be over here. They're not coming to this show, and I don't mind. I want to speak to my tribe that understands where I'm coming from, and I want to speak to the undecideds to help you get in this revolution with us. But how dare you sit from your privilege and look down your nose at the ADOS, who are on the bottom by design of institutional systemic racism. There before the grace of God go each of us who are now unicorns amongst our own people. I remember working in corporate and having Black faces to report to and Black faces in management. And down here with Wells Fargo Bank, how they got rid of everyone Black, with the exception of a couple of tokens, and replaced us with immigrants. And that's what's going to come for us if these Democrats are allowed that top of the ticket. We are finished because they have promised to open up these borders to 11 million more immigrants to give them a pathway to citizenship before making us whole, making us American. You're not American if you can't afford to provide for your family. Okay? Taj Marie, welcome to the live. Thank you. Travis Johnson, thank you for joining the live. So that's my rant. That's the way I see it. I'm looking for my glasses, y'all. Because it's, guess what? Story time. We got John F. Kennedy and we've got Lyndon B. Johnson. Y'all, let me find my glasses. They must have fallen. Oh, Lord, why didn't I do? Oh, here they are. Oh, y'all can't see all that. Oh, my goodness. All my mops and brooms in the living room. I should have turned it that far. Y'all ain't supposed to see all the mess in the house. That ain't for show. But anyway, I'm going to get into this reading. As I tell you guys every show, we must understand our history so we do not repeat it. And the way you repeat it is this lesser of two evil, two-step shuffle to our own peril. We have been doing that since FDR 1936, and we are at George Floyd 846. So I read to you guys because these chapters are very short, and it helps to give you the political fortitude to break the back of the establishment and allow America to burn, because it must burn to the ground as we know it. It's not working for ADOS. It clearly is not. Yes, there will be casualties. Get used to it. This time around, we won't be the only ones. Okay? And that's all that matters to me. We will not be the only ones, because right now, in every election cycle, no matter who's in the office, we're the only ones. A few Browns, but for the most part, ADOS is being assassinated. And don't come over here. Black immigrants get assassinated too. Not in the same proportions, because guess what? If you're African and immigrant down here, you are 60,000 liquid. You're not living in the hood where they're less than $200 liquid. And that's where the race soldiers spend their time. Okay? So stop your belly aching. I'm not in a pissing match over who gets executed by government sanction more than the other. I know it's ADOS because I know we don't have nothing. And that means they're going into communities where they can troll us and murder us and get away with murder. And use our tax dollars, not just to pay their salaries, but also to pay for the civil suits. We get to pay to be executed by the race soldiers twice. And then we get to go out here and vote for a Democratic party that's clearly stole the primary for Biden and Kamala. And now they're in a pissing match over who's more tough on law and order. Who's tougher on crime? That's what you see them doing. Wanting to bring in more race soldiers into our communities over resources. How about education? How about jobs that pay an American wage? $15 ain't it for most places in this country. How about home ownership? How about business ownership? When we had those things, we weren't murdering each other. We weren't having turf wars. The police always has been a gang. They're the ones inciting most of these wars, black on black crimes and murders in cities like Chicago. You dig deep enough, they're at the center of it. So much corruption going on. And you're preying on the poor, whom this country has contributed to tethering to the bottom. So let's dig in so I can get you out. I'm already at an hour. Y'all know I was born to talk. Already breathing hard. John F. Kennedy, 61 to 63. In the late 60s and into the 70s, get your libations, get comfortable. We have to do this, family. I know it's a lot. And I appreciate you growing through with me. But we've got to understand that none of these presidents have been for us. So we can protest in peace. In the late 60s and into the 70s, it was common to see in Black households in America a portrait of John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King, akin to how you see now, me speaking, with Obama, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and there's one more that's in that picture. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but you'll see those three figures in portraits. That's to deceive you. Because Barack Obama did nothing akin to what the very ADOS, who coined the term American Descendants of Slavery, Yvette coined the hashtag. Martin Luther King Jr. referred to us as American Descendants of Slavery. Okay? So Obama did nothing, not even a mustard seed of what Martin and Malcolm did for the ADOS. But this is the trickery they put you in. That's how they hypnotize you into making you believe he did as much for the ADOS as did those two. I'm here to tell you, you're dealing with a president who not only did nothing for the ADOS, he also said no to reparations, and he started about 6 more wars overseas, dropping drones on the innocent. He dropped so many bombs, he ran out of bombs to drop, and he murdered Gaddafi, and then they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. Moving on. The image was almost obligatory. All 3 men were assassinated and were forever linked as martyrs. King's bona fides as the leader of a struggle for human rights are secure. But the Kennedy brothers profited from an undeserved reputation. John F. Kennedy enjoyed one of the best marketing propaganda efforts in modern history. He had great speechwriters, the love of the elite classes, an Ivy League education, and a family who had been famous for decades. Then he was shot to death. His team of image makers and their friends in media had no trouble burnishing his image. Kennedy was never fully supportive of the civil rights movement. The Democratic Party still depended on Southern Dixiecrats for support, and Kennedy's responses to the liberation struggle were tepid at best. The March on Washington took place just 3 months before his death, but it happened only after its message was co-opted and watered down by his administration, in particular by his brother Robert, who served as Attorney General. John Kennedy began his road to undeserved sainthood before his election as president. When King was arrested in Atlanta just weeks before the 1960 election, the candidate called Coretta King to express his concern. Robert worked behind the scenes to get King and his colleagues out of jail, and the beginning of yet another good for Black people presidency myth began. The Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. proclaimed, quote, "As a Baptist, I was going to vote against John Kennedy because he was a Catholic. But if he had the courage to wipe the tears from my daughter-in-law's eyes, then I have the courage to vote for him, Catholic or not. And I've got a whole suitcase of votes that I'm taking up and putting in the lap of John Kennedy," close quote. As his campaign song, High Hopes with John Kennedy, suggested, there were high hopes that Kennedy would take strong measures on civil rights legislation when he came into office. There were high hopes for Obama when we elected him for 2 terms, and we're told to keep waiting. He can't this election cycle. Just give him another term. He'll ride hard for the ADOS. Well, he can't during his second term. Let's wait until he gets out. We still waiting on Obama to be pro ADOS. But he did none of the things that had been discussed even among his advisors. He did not desegregate the National Guard or sue Southern states to force school integration. He was initially opposed to issuing executive orders prohibiting discrimination because Southerners chaired the House and Senate committees that would have the opportunity to weaken or overturn them. The first of the executive orders that he ultimately decided to issue, signed on March 6, 1961, required federal contractors to take affirmative action against discrimination based on race or color. It was the first official use of the term. The order also established the President's Committee on Equal Employment Opportunity, the forerunner to the establishment of a full-fledged federal agency, the EEOC. The order was toothless, as the president stated at the committee's first meeting that compliance should be voluntary. The president said at the committee's first meeting that compliance should be voluntary. Ain't this about a blip? This is the same thing happening with H.R. 40, me speaking. H.R. 40 is a study for our reparations. It is toothless without the Darity edits. So we don't want any more signatures on that toothless bill. We've got to pivot and do something different with our own legislation. Or get Darity's edits to be included. The order was, okay, cancellation of contracts would be a last resort. Okay. 1 week after the committee was established, the Defense Department awarded a $1 billion contract to the Lockheed Corporation in Marietta, Georgia, which ran a segregated plant and did so on government land. Another executive order issued on November 20th, 1962 prohibited housing discrimination, but only for newly constructed properties and federally funded projects. The signing of the order was timed to take place at the congressional elections so as to maintain the support of Southern Democrats. When activists defiled the American apartheid system with freedom rides and demonstrations, the Kennedys were anxious to keep them under control. They asked for a cooling off period without these actions in exchange for funding for the voter education project, which informed and encouraged voter registration in the South. Robert Kennedy's rationale for support was cynical, quote, "If enough Negroes registered, they could obtain redress of their grievances internally without the federal government being involved in it at all," close quote. The SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, took the funding offered, but youth in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, were unhappy and felt that older leaders had been bought off by the Kennedys. Isn't this how we're feeling today, family? That the boomer vote has been co-opted by Clyburn that created this domino effect to why we now have Biden, the author of the 94 crime bill, segregationist Jim Crow Joe Biden, Strom Thurmond's boy, running for president while calling Trump a racist. Make it make sense. SNCC students felt no obligation to live up to any entreaties to cool off, as is the ADOS movement, family. Hey, we're in great company. While the Kennedy administration asked activists to stand down, it never gave up its effort to make Southern segregationists happy. A 1960, is this not the case with what's happening right now with Biden placating to the Republicans? Oh my God. I tell you, one party is all it is, and neither party is for the ADOS. A 1961 omnibus judgeship bill created 130 vacancies, many of which were filled by appointees handpicked by Southern senators. They were all up in the DNC convention. Didn't you see the Republicans able to speak? They gave AOC, not that I'm a fan of hers, like a minute, 60 seconds. And instead of choosing Bernie Sanders, who I think was a beard for the Democratic Party, okay, to rally and coalesce more votes around them for a second time, he goes and chooses Kelly's top cop, Kamala the Chameleon, to appeal to who? The Republicans. As a matter of fact, stock in the prison soared after he chose Kamala as his VP pick. Let that sink in. As they have no plans for real reform for our men who are warehoused in the prisons, 1 million strong, close to it, in the new enslavement called the private prison industrial complex. That's why stock soared. So we're wealthless, now incomeless. Where else is there to go but the new slavery in the prisons? The Justice Department even lobbied the American Bar Association to revise a negative assessment of one of the nominees to make him more acceptable during the confirmation process. Both Alabama senators supported the unqualified man, and the administration followed their lead. Even his televised speech calling civil rights a, quote, moral issue, close quote, took place because of the defiance of Black people who didn't care about what the Kennedy brothers wanted. You hear that, family? Defiance. It was the defiance of our slave ancestors who ran and fled from their plantations to the Union camps to give us our emancipation. It was a defiance of these civil rights, these fighters in the civil rights movement. Their defiance bought us the civil rights we now have. It is going to take our defiance to get that check in the trillions over multi-generations. We are here as the movement, like a silent, steady drumbeat. We're not giving in. We're not giving up. We're not giving out on this fight for reparations because our very survival depends on it. No one can suggest to us, other than reparations, on how to close this egregious $100 trillion racial wealth gap that morphed from the $11 trillion surplus post our chattel slavery. Reparations is the only answer. In the trillions over multi-generations. No, I don't want any more of your programs that you give with the left and give away with the right to minority, people of color. No. Deposit those checks directly into our accounts the way you did these trillions of dollars for the COVID stimulus relief. Yeah, that's what you do. And you know who we are because we were insured and we still have our master's last names, many of us. This is not hard to find out who gets it. It is the American descendants of chattel slavery exclusively. Back to the text. George Wallace stood in the doorway of the University of Alabama in an attempt to bar 2 Black students from attending, but it was their determination to attend class that set off the necessary crisis. Kennedy's speech made clear that he was more interested in stopping protest. Sounds familiar. As Donald Trump turns the military on the peaceful protesters in the wake of George Floyd, 846 to the neck. And so on. Breonna, Elijah, Ahmaud, Jacob Blake, thank God he survived, but I don't know how good his body's going to be for him and his family. Most recently, Walter Wallace. The beat just goes on. They just keep assassinating us with no real reform in place. No, the only way to get real reform is to dismantle private prisons and decimate qualified immunity and put the resources in our communities while giving us our reparations check. $1 million apiece would be fine. That would suffice. And you can pay it in installments. Kennedy's speech made clear, quote, "We have a right to expect that the Negro community will be responsible and uphold the law, but they have the right to expect the law to be fair." When has the law ever been fair to ADOS? Can someone please type it in the chat? While Kennedy would hold a photo opportunity with Myrlie Evers, the widow of Medgar Evers, he did nothing to keep people like Evers from being killed by the Klansmen in the first place. Is this not true of every president? Obama had the executive pen, could have ordered anti-lynching. That's still sitting in the Senate. Every president has done us in. This is the purpose of this exercise, to help you be comfortable and going in there and voting anyone other than a Democrat at the top of the ticket and the most progressive Democratic down ballot you can find. Despite pleas from Dr. King and others, the administration repeatedly refused to provide protection for people who only wanted to exercise their citizenship rights. The more things stay the same, the more things stay the same. Like the Franklin Roosevelt administration, me speaking, now they're talking about bringing out the troops because of all these white militias who they refuse to call terrorist groups, the KKK, all of these white militias are now threatening to go to war if Trump does not win another term. Y'all better stay in your houses. Make sure you have enough food and stuff, because that ain't our monkey, ain't our circus. Just get out the way. Like the Franklin Roosevelt administration, Kennedy tried to stop the March on Washington. Ain't this about a... The march was originally called the Poor People's March, and its demands were not limited to passing civil rights legislation, but extended to ending poverty in America. And here we sit. Here we sit, tethered to the bottom economically. The president told the black protesters that their activism was a hindrance to progress rather than its impetus. Quote, "We want success in Congress, not just a big show at the Capitol. Some of these people are looking for an excuse to be against us," close quote. Robert Kennedy expressed criticism from the very beginning, accusing King of wanting to embarrass his brother. We're starving, but you're accusing King of wanting to embarrass John F. Kennedy because we want to march on Washington about our conditions after building this country through the most heinous chattel slave labor known to the born free world. He sounds like Kushner. On the eve of the march, he spoke to diplomat Marietta Tree, saying about Bayard Rustin's involvement, quote, "So you're down here for that old Black Fairies anti-Kennedy demonstration, question mark, close quote." When Tree attempted to change the subject to Martin Luther King, Kennedy interjected, quote, "He's not a serious person. If the country knew what we know about King's goings on, he'd be finished," close quote. The administration was prepared to pull the plug if any of the speeches were deemed too radical for their taste. The march was considered successful, but for the wrong reasons. Kennedy was pleased that no disruptive incidents had marred an event that had begun as a protest, but had ended as a celebration and public relations bonanza for both the movement and for Kennedy's civil rights program. The assassination of the Kennedy brothers ensured they would be remembered with more exaltation than either of them deserved. They were always behind, always pushed ahead by the people who insisted on making change. The affection they still inspire is part of a long and sad tradition of Black people being pleased with the smallest political victories. Is this not the case? Is this not happening right now? As they want you to forgive it and forget it, wherein Biden is concerned, trying to make Trump out to be the boogeyman, when he in fact wants to close the borders for Americans, albeit I don't think that is for us, but it would help us not to have an influx of 11 million more immigrants. They already outnumber us. This may be the last election cycle our votes will even matter. He didn't jail close to 1 million Black men. He didn't author the crime bill. He's new to politics. But because he's mean and a racist, folks want to act as if Biden just forgive it and forget it. And he's still talking about putting $30 million more into the police, the race soldiers. And he's talking about, I don't even remember where he was at some church speaking, and this beautiful sister got up and shared about the atrocities in the community. I don't know which victim by the race soldier. I can't recall which one it was, but he was at a church and basically said, sending a dog whistle, that it's okay to shoot us, just do it in the leg, as compared to spraying and unloading your entire, guns, 10 of you strong, at us. Just shoot us in the leg. Not resources, not dismantle the new slavery, private prison industrial complex. Bring in more race soldiers and don't shoot to kill them. Lyndon B. Johnson. Because of time, I'm not going to read this is late 20th century. Let me see here. Okay. He was there between 63 and 69. Let me tell you real quick what was going on. The Voting Rights Act allows the federal government to oversee election processes in states where rights are restricted. In 66, Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale found the Black Panther Party for self-defense with its focus on education, voting safety, and full employment. That's the year I was born. Y'all think that has anything to do with why I'm so radical? I was born the year of the Black Panther. My father was a Black Panther. It's in my DNA. Oh, wow. I never knew that it was 66. In 69, Nixon's Office of Minority Business Enterprise supports and assists Black-owned businesses. Lyndon Baines Johnson, 63 to 69. Lyndon Johnson's racism was well known, but is overlooked in the interest of creating a happy narrative. He is remembered as the president who shepherded the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts through Congress. When announcing the passage of the Civil Rights Act, he infamously said, "We shall overcome." He is seen as a champion of the civil rights movement and is considered a president who was, quote, good for Black people, close quote. But Johnson did only as much as he was forced to do by the demands of Black America. ADOS, we are on the right side of history. Lean in. ADOS rising. Mike Michelson says, my father was a Panther too, sis. Rock Hill, South Carolina. Rock on. Dayton, Ohio, darling. Dayton. Oh, yes. I love that. No wonder. I bet we're all kind of offspring in some way or another of some real hardcore activist that we descend from. because we are in here strong and pushing the gas every opportunity we get to speak or write. I mean, this has become many of our full-time jobs, a second job for me. I'm on like 3 work groups down here to guarantee we get the right language in the bill for the reparations and the right people on the commission and our ethnicity. The movement clearly takes cat naps. I know I do. And this show and my daughter and my work in the courts, like, it's a lot, but it's necessary. Okay? This is a time when everybody gets to be a part of the movement. We have a lot of work to do because we've been put to sleep by a lot of trinkets. You must learn politics in relation to the American descent of chattel slavery and get active. Back to the text. But Johnson the civil rights movement was a time of intense and dangerous struggle. The tendency to minimize the ordeal and the victory of Black liberation must be rejected. The protest was most effective when unfettered by political party allegiance. See? Green Party, top of the ticket. Progressive dim down ballot to protect the over 42% of ADOS who rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism. The people who pushed the politicians alongside conservatives in the civil rights establishment created a very necessary crisis and thereby forced Johnson to do what he otherwise would not have, akin to what our ancestors who ran away from their plantations and stormed the Union camps to force Abraham Lincoln to emancipate us. The same way we must force, by the only weapon we've got, the only commodity we've got to weaponize our vote and socialize our suffering, to force the Democrats, whom we've been voting for since 36, to give us our reparations and Black agenda. It will have to come by force. No other way this is going to happen. Lean in, ADOS. The people who pushed the politicians alongside conservatives in the civil rights establishment created a very necessary crisis and thereby forced Johnson to do what he otherwise would not have. He was, after all, the man who also casually wrote the words, "This nigga drives for me," in a letter of permission he gave to his Black driver. What's up, Nicole? Thank you for joining the live, my love. One of the people most responsible for making Johnson look good was Fannie Lou Hamer, a Mississippian and lifelong sharecropper. She became a leader in the struggle in that state. Now, me speaking, I don't disparage the ancestors. They did the best they could with what they had. Sometimes it looks like cooning to me, but I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge. But today, there's a lot of coons. I'm judging that. Because there are too many people comfortable eating their butter biscuits while the ADOS is being marched to the guillotines. They're being marched into third world country standards in the country their ancestors, our ancestors, built with their lives. So you're a coon if you're in 2020 still tap dancing for your butter biscuits. That makes you a coon. If you don't get that your education and all that God has blessed you with makes you privileged amongst your people, and you look down your nose at them, and you expect them to pull themselves up by their bootless straps, when you know full well on some level, even you coming up and rising through the ranks have had to endure institutional systemic racism, and you choose to make it the oppressed ADOS fault, that you're a coon. And I have no respect for you. None. Because you're in a position to do better. Because you know better. And to whom much is given, much is required. She and others formed the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, MFDP, in '64 and selected an integrated slate of delegates for that year's Democratic National Convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Johnson was running to be elected president in his own right after ascending to the position when Kennedy was assassinated and, like all Democrats, worried about keeping the segregationist South in the Democratic Party. The regular Democratic delegates were all white in a state where Black people took their lives into their hands if they attempted to vote. Yet the integrated 68-person MFDP was turned away by the Democratic Party. Initially, they were told they would have no vote and would be mere observers. When they flatly rejected that offer, the MFDP were told that 2 members could be at-large delegates while the rest would be considered guests. Johnson, Hubert Humphrey, Walter Mondale, Martin Luther King, Whitney Young, and other organizational leaders all argued for the MFDP to accept the compromise. Some within the MFDP wanted to accept the Democrats' offer, but Hamer and others recommended standing fast. The Johnson administration worked mightily to keep the MFDP from being seated. The FBI had the MFDP under electronic surveillance, as well as King's and Bayard Rustin's telephones. White House Special Assistant Bill Moyers received the information, and he and others in the Johnson administration worked hard to prevent the Convention Credentials Committee from seating the MFDP as the legitimate representatives of Mississippi voters. While the MFDP ultimately refused the compromise and returned to Mississippi empty-handed, Fannie Lou Hamer forced the Democrats to sit up and take notice. She spoke about her ordeal in Winona, Mississippi, after she and others had attempted to register. She was beaten, first by Black prisoners who were forced to do the dirty work. She was then beaten by a white policeman. As the cameras rolled, a very rattled Lyndon Johnson hastily called a press conference. The media thought he would announce his choice for vice president, but his only goal was to keep Hamer off America's television screens. When he ended saying only that he was commemorating the nine-month anniversary of John F. Kennedy's assassination and the shooting of Texas Governor John Connally, some of the networks returned to the convention. Others rebroadcast Hamer's speech later that evening. If anyone should be credited with the passage of the Voting Rights Act in '65, it is Fannie Lou Hamer and the others who forced federal action. The actions and the inactions of his predecessors all came to a head for Johnson. Sustained agitation from the liberation movement had brought the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, and Fair Housing Act into being. But 100 years of frustration and anger didn't dissipate. After the Voting Rights Act was signed in '65, the Watts section of LA exploded into the first of a series of urban uprisings that spread across the country over the next 3 years. The tensions created by escalating Vietnam War and the living conditions of millions of people finally exploded. Johnson was angry and resentful that he was so unappreciated. But there were more surprises awaiting the president. Martin Luther King was himself impacted by the growing anti-war movement. The passage of important legislation had given him an opportunity to see beyond the need to end legal segregation. The people of Watts lived as residents of a colony without access to basic services, in substandard schools and housing, and with the threat of police violence. What is new in 2020, family? The people of Watts lived as residents of a colony. The ADOS of the USA, America with 3 Ks, lived as residents in a third world country without access to basic services, without access to education, without access to home ownership, without access to business ownership, without access to employment, without access to health care, in substandard schools and housing, with the threat of government-sanctioned executions and private prisons, the new slavery. What is new in 2020? And y'all, not y'all, some of you want to continue the lesser to evil two-step shuffle all the way to George Floyd 846 to our ultimate peril. Not the ADOS movement. I'm on my square. I will be pushing Democratic down ballot the day after the election, a month after the election, until we are moving as a block in this country. This is my square. This is the way I will be using my voice to get the checks cut in the trillions over multi-generations. I am a laborer in the vineyard, as are you, and I'm grateful to you. Spread the word, get more comrades, roll up your sleeves. We have a lot of work left to do. Thank you, Margaret Kimberly, for this book, Prejudential. Pick it up, family. Pick it up. You see how little this is? This woman is brilliant. The way she put together the puckery from all of the presidents in Black America, all the way through to Trump. Get this book, family. Share it with your children. Oh, my God. Let me take a breath. I lost my place. Just give me a second. I'm back, y'all. When Martin Luther King publicly declared his opposition to the Vietnam War on April 4th, 1967, he also broke with Johnson. White America didn't understand. They may have been sympathetic to the Nobel Peace Prize winner and to people attacked with police dogs, but they were dismayed by the Black Panther Party and calls for justice that never seemed to end. And us rising as they tried to COINTELPRO us, calling us Russian bot Trump supporters. Don't fall for the trick bag if you're new watching to the show. ADOS is putting in that work, akin to the Panthers. That's what we're doing. Johnson appointed the Kerner Commission to investigate the causes of the urban uprisings, but he wasn't satisfied with the conclusion that the nation comprised two societies, one black, one white, separate and unequal. What's different? Now they're pouring in immigrants over top of us. I don't know if you saw the viral video of the realtor, the Asian realtor in Scottsdale, that told the brother who was over there minding his own business that this is a nigger-free zone and yes, I'm a racist. He lost his job, but what about his license? So they bring in more oppressors. The black, the brown, and the yellow oppressors who are taking the country over. And if I don't agree with Trump on anything else, I agree with him on making sure that America, especially the ADOS, can survive. We are being replaced. We've already been replaced. And you don't see any of them, well, maybe a handful, are allies on the stump for reparations for ADOS. But many of them don't want this bottom, and that is what capitalism requires. Someone on the bottom. And this country decided long ago it was us. And then in walks the ADOS movement. Oh no, not on my watch. You will not make a slave of my child. She will not be a pauper eating hand to mouth with advanced education. She's too brilliant. As are all of our children when given an opportunity. I'm fighting for mine and yours. Get in this fight. At least help us with the protest vote until it becomes as normal as lesser of two evil. The backlash had begun and Johnson became a victim. He chose not to run for re-election early in '68 after watching the urban unrest and continued opposition to the war in Vietnam. American politics had changed and racist appeals were once again acceptable, as they are today. Next up, Richard Nixon. The war on drugs started with him. And Gerald Ford on Sunday, 6 o'clock. Unless I have a meeting, I may have to look at that time because I know I've got some workshops, work groups that I have to be a part of, subcommittees on this AB 3121. I'm going to scroll and see what you guys have to say. I'm just going to jump to the more pertinent comments and flash them and talk them through. Tell it MLK, they must remember, LaFair says, tell it MLK, they must remember MLK of his best attribute, recognizing the moral turpitude of ADOS life. QC ADOS in the building. What's up? Thank you so much, LaFair. You're absolutely right. Martin Luther King was coming for that check. That's why they assassinated him. And the ADOS movement is here to pick up that work. And we've made much traction, you see. The HR 40 was collecting mold and dust before the ADOS movement. Okay? Nobody was talking about reparations, but that ADOS movement in the social media spaces made it a national debate topic. And we aren't going to let them rest. They will be hearing our demands for reparations in their sleep. Like a steady drumbeat, we are here. Oh, thank you, Erie Blackfire. Yes, the Green Party, my love. What is the LA ADOS family doing this weekend? I'm not sure what LA is doing this weekend. I know we've got a bunch of work groups on the AB 3121. We are pushing yes on Prop 16, which reinstates our affirmative action down here for ADOS. Our college admissions went down to, I think one of the sisters on one of the shows said she attended UC Berkeley. Of 400,000 students, we were 1% at UC Berkeley. So we're pushing for Prop 16 to pass. I'm with ADOS SoCal, but you know, it's all ADOS California. And so we're now in 3 different work groups pushing to make sure we're at the table for the reparations study AB 3121, that we're on the commission, that we have our new identification, our new ethnicity as ADOS. And yeah, we're pushing for these things to get right here so that it can spread like wildfire throughout the country. So you should be getting 2 checks, your state checks for reparations and your federal checks for reparations. The state will probably come sooner, but it won't be in the trillions over multi-generations like the bigger check through the feds. ADOS New Jersey. Thank you, Justin, for joining the live. Let's see here. I voted Green Party also. That was Deborah. Thank you. Deborah voted Green Party also. Robin the Girl Wonder. Thank you, my love. That's Robin Freelix. I love her. I love all y'all, Black and Strong. Okay, let's go down so I can pray y'all out. Mike Michelson, back to the text. Adrian, thank you for joining the live. ADOS Truth. You are our voice. ADOS Super Trooper Information Queen. Oh, thank you so much for that. I love repping us, and I love even more that I make you guys proud when I rep us. That thrills me through and through, that what I do and the way I use my voice pleases my tribe. I don't care what nobody else says about me. If y'all are pleased, it is well with my soul. Thank you. He doesn't know because he hasn't had to know or care. He's speaking of Jared Kushner. Absolutely right. He doesn't have to know or care about the contribution of ADOS. But I'm here to drag his ass nonetheless. He says, amen. Thank you at 400 years, Lord. Not the Omen, sis. That's taking it way back. Y'all remember that Omen movie? Ooh. Yeah, I'm telling on my age. I don't mind telling my age. I'm proud to be 54. I'm very proud of that. I still works to keep it, glamorous. I mean, get old for what? Right? Because old is a state of mind. Old is a state of mind. And with a box of hair color, you can do wonders to turn back the clock. Because you know that black don't crack, right? So get old for what? I don't believe in getting old. I believe in getting older. But there's a difference between chronological aging and aging in your mind, in your physical, in your body. No. See, God promised us long life and that more abundantly. And I mean to have my share. Now, if you don't want your share, I'll take your share. But black don't crack. So we can live up to that. Take care of your mental. Take care of your spiritual. Take care of your temple. Mind, body, spirit. That's what I'm on. I know I rant and rave, but guess what? The doctor told me my body's functioning like that of someone that's 20 years younger than my age because I rant and rave. I get it out. I cry it out. I jog it out. That stuff ain't going to sit in me and destroy me because it's all relative, family. Take care of you. If this begins, that's why I only go every other day. And I take my long little weekends because this is a lot. And so I find ways to preserve myself. Sometimes you got to come out of these social media spaces. They can be too much. They will age you. Okay? So anyway, back to the chat. S. Wiseman. Say hello to you, my love. Hey, Mark. Okay, y'all give me love. I love how you love. Oh, I love that black. I love that ADOS love. Unflattening blackness. ADOS love. ADOS and allies. The boomer aunts blame black men. The boomers have no one to blame but themselves. As they continue to go against the will of their young people. We're demanding a protest vote. Listen, I border boomer. I'm on the second best half of life like the other ones that are older than me. So I'm not trying to put anybody in the grave, but I'm here to tell you that my thumb is on the pulse of the millennials and the Gen Zs and the Gen X. That's where I'm forward thinking. So when I demand a protest vote, it is to protect the ones behind me. That's what all this work is about right now. Making sure they are American before I leave here. And each of us has got to move that football down to the touchdown until it gets there. Okay. AJ, I got to reach out to her. And you'll have all the good guests. I do my best. Oh, yes, I do. I like AJ Brooks. I'm going to look her up as soon as I'm done with this show. I don't know how to do a watch party on your vids anymore, Angela. You know what, Donna? They have shut me down from doing watch parties too. I don't know what is going on, but they will not allow me to do watch parties of my own shows anymore. All I can do is say, join me over at YouTube because, I need another tissue, y'all. The struggle is real. Mama's hot. I don't understand why they have shut me down, but Facebook messes with me often. You really want to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, Friends of ADOS TV, and you can copy and paste the links, but they have shut down my ability to do watch parties because I'm telling too much truth, and they don't like it. They're constantly messing with my posts, blocking my posts, putting me in jail. Sometimes you'll see me disappear for a few days. It is what it is. I'm going to keep speaking truth to power. I'd be well. I love that. Thank you. AJ Brooks. Ooh, Chile. Oh, Robin, thank you. Yeah, she got her Twitter. Y'all tell her, Angela Nirvana from Friends of ADOS TV. Maybe if y'all give me an endorsement, she'll come on the show. I'm sure she's being pulled a million different directions. Yes, sister. Let's see here. There needs to be a serious discussion regarding the caste systems of those immigrating in the United States. You better understand it. Oh yeah, the government knows exactly what it's doing, weaponizing immigration against us to extinct us, to make us third world at least. The other one in that poster is Mandela. Thank you, my love, Mandela. So it's Obama, King, X, and Mandela. Thank you. I knew there was a fourth. What's the name of the book again, please? It's called Prejudential. Prejudential by Margaret Kimberly. I'm going to write it. Yes, I am. I must own this book. This sister is brilliant the way she did this, the way she summarized all the puckery. Do you hear me? And like these little short chapters. That's the only reason why I'm able to read to y'all, because I'm not reading no more. We're going to have an exchange like y'all do over Yvette show. Y'all read for Yvette. Y'all read for me, but y'all read for Yvette. I'm probably going to leave the book club to her, because this is a lot. I mean, I have Darity's book on deck, and then she throws in the half that's never been told. So, for my own book club, I got Darity's book. And now she wants us to read this one by December the 10th. This one is my book that has to be read by November the 13th. Now, I'm not reading this to y'all. We can do like y'all do on Yvette's. I just may leave it to her. I'm in prayer about it. I'm in prayer about it because she comes with hers like, every month and a half, and it's just difficult to even keep up with her. So I might let her have that and just do something a little different. I just feel like we just need to keep reading and keep growing. You mean our men are over 2 million strong, trapped in Biden's for-profit prisons? Google it via the NASCAP stats, sis. The brothers, the ADOS are 2 million? Or is that the total number of prisoners? Donna, don't tell me we 2 million now. Don't tell me. I've been talking about close to 1 million. Don't tell me we 2 million now. That's just going to do something to me. Right? EFFPPL of color. I'd rather see no promises go out. Amen. Amen. That's what I did today. Democrat down ballot. Thank you, Camille. Yes, we got that early voting in, family. None of these presidents have ever been for Black people. Thank you, NLM, for running the live. You're right. Lord, I jumped too far. I'm just trying to get to the meat and potatoes. Lord. Well, I have to give you ADOS Hot Topics, family, before I read. These shows will be shorter unless I find another short book I can read and dig into. I don't know how to do. Okay, I passed that. The one in the Robin, if you could text me in the IM, the Facebook IM, KJ Brooks's information, I'd be so grateful. Because sometimes my memory's like a 54-year-old. Struggle can be real sometimes. Okay, let me jump down. Debonair 1, thank you for joining the live, my love. Nothing new under the sun. ADOS, not continuing down the same road. That's insanity. You're right, my love. Nicole says exactly. It's so sad. Same exact thing going on in 2020, and we still talking about just vote. It's going to fix everything. It's insane. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Post-traumatic slave syndrome is real. The Black Boy, hey, Angela. Oh, thank you, my love. Peace, Trey X, thank you. I love y'all. We almost done. Will the checks go to the California residents or the California natives or both? I'm thinking both. I mean, we're down from 16% to 6%. So I I'm assuming both. I haven't gotten that far in my sessions. Right now, we're just fighting for ethnicity and fighting to make sure that we've got some control over who sits on that commission. It's a huge undertaking. Oh, great, Deborah. Just ordered Prejudicial. Good for you. Yes, you're going to love having that one in your library. Debonair 1, make sure they are American before I leave here. That's a powerful, unselfish statement, sis. Absolutely. Oh, yes. That's what we're all doing. You guys are over here getting the education. It's infectious, right? All of us are in this fight. What Facebook shut you down? Nicole, she's speaking to not being able to do watch parties of my shows anymore. I can't even do watch parties of my shows anymore. So Facebook is messing with me because of my post, because of my shows. I'm sure they're watching everything I do and say, but the show must go on. Make sure you subscribe to me over at YouTube in case I get shut down from there, like indefinitely. I'm not fighting to be any place I'm not wanted. We've got to get a Black social media page. As a matter of fact, I think Ice Cube is working on something like that. Or was it Dre? I can't recall, but they're working. I'll be glad when that happens. New comments. Oh, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Triangles in the house. They're shutting down, Treyex says they're shutting down the mail-in ballot. Yeah, burning the ballot boxes and where you're dropping them off the whole 9 yards. I say get to the polls if you can, if you feel comfortable. But it's a lot going on right now. Taj Marie, welcome to the live, my love. I've already read at least half of FHTE. I don't know what that is. I got both books for y'all. I have audio and ebook copies. I am trying to keep up. Mike Michelson, I need to do the same thing because it's just hard to read all this. Dawn says, hi, Dawn. Triangle ADOS, CBAC. No, there are not 2 million Black men in jail. Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you. Whew, Lord, today. Frida Gillespie, thank you for joining the live, my love. Oh, she really enjoyed the last show. It was like she was having the show was in archive, and Miss Frida was over there talking like she had a full chat going. It was beautiful to see and hilarious at the same time. I love that she was so excited of the information I was imparting. Thank you. Donna says, we including Black children total 2.3 million about 3 years ago, Angela. Black children what? In jail? Girl, you got to, please. That's why I get angry when people act like Biden's impact is over and happened 30 years ago when so many Black people are still incarcerated along with many new ones. Black women are in there too. Oh my God, please don't tell me 2.3 million of our children. I can't. I need to get the data right. Oh my God. Well, I know there's a preschool to prison pipeline in full mode. Thank you, my love, for sending me KJ's information in the feed in my IM because you're real. Oh, thank you. Oh, yes, they are messing with us. I had a great watch party with you last week, Angela. Oh, I hate that they are bothering me like that, my sister. Just tell them to come on over here live if they can make it. Otherwise, there's the archives. Satra Del Rey 360, I thank you for joining the live, my love. Miss Angela, please share me Avery please share Mr. Avery with Be the Power. Thanks. Oh, yes, he should go over on Be the Power. I will definitely write Naheem. That was from Dawn Page. She gave us Mr. Avery Valentine. Thank you, Dawn. He was an awesome guest. He was a little nervous, but we gave him love. I think he's cool. He was really great with the stats and our vote. That was a great show. From Here to Eternity. Oh, From Here to Eternity. That's the book she's referencing. Oh, that's Darren's. Oh, it's From Here to Equality. Okay. That was the acronym. Okay. Thank you, Dawn. Okay. My God. Our babies. Why can't I see the comments live? You guys can't see each other's comments? I ain't touched nothing. You know, I'm not very technologically savvy. Donna Michelle. 32% of the U.S. population is represented by African Americans and Hispanics compared to 56% of the U.S. incarcerated population being represented by African Americans and Hispanics in 2014. African Americans constituted 2.3 million or 34% of the total 6.8 million correctional population. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, he did do very well. Donna, let me put this up, family. 32%, Dawn, look at this, of the U.S. population is represented by African Americans and Hispanics. So that's us combined because we're only 13%. So that means Hispanics, what's 32 minus 13? Lord, I got to get my calculator, y'all. Hold on. We got to figure this out. We're outnumbered. We're not even including Asians and all the other groups in that number. So, oh, wow. Hispanics are 19% to African Americans. Now, is that all blacks? Because ADOS is 13%. Compared to 56% of the U.S. incarcerated population being represented by African Americans and Hispanics. I'm interested in knowing how many ADOS are in jail. In 2014, African Americans constituted 2.3 million or 34% of the total 6.8 million correctional population. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, so the 2.3 million is including men, women, and children? Okay. That's NAACP Criminal Justice Fact Sheet. Okay. Not all the hit live chat to see comments. I said not 2 million black men in jail. Okay, right. I think that's 2.3 million African Americans in total. Donna, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, Sadra Delry says to you, Dawn, to hit live chat to see the comments. Okay, family, with that said, we are at 2 hours and 2 minutes and 37 seconds. And we're long overdue. We're long out of time, but these shows may go a little long because I got to do my hot topics. I know, Angela, review it when you get out. African Americans are incarcerated in more than 5 times the race of whites. That I know. The imprisonment rate for African American women is 2 times that of white women. Yes. Nationwide, African American children represent 32% of children who are arrested, 42% of children who are detained, and 52% of children whose cases are judicially waived to criminal court. African American children represent 14% of the population. I don't know how African American children can represent 14% of the entire population when we are only 13%, men, women, and children. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how to read the stats. I don't know. I have to look at it, my love. I will check it out. With that said, family, I thank you for being the wind beneath the show of the Friends of ADOS TV. You guys are why I do it. The fact that you keep showing up and want to hear me sound off about the ADOS and our relationship to this government. I'm so grateful that you choose to spend your time with me in this way. It means more to me than I have the words to convey. I want to put a covering over you because it gives me peace of mind to do so, to send you on your way, reminding you of who you are. I want to tell you right now, family, that the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. wherever ADOS and its allies are. God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until Sunday, family, you go out here in these streets and you act like you know who you are, and you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening and next few days until Sunday around 6 or 7 p.m. when we meet again for more presidential and ADOS hot topics. I love you, Black family. I love you strong. Bye, family. Peace.